My glasses.
Is this one different?
That's
Very-
CSEA's report.
Oh, okay.
Somebody needs to write.
Okay.
And who, what time, who did what?
We called to order at 6:01 and closed at 7:01.
Yeah, who made the motion?
Oh, Robinson, Bender, second, and then closed with Bender and Ready? Ready? Okay, Ron? We convene into open session. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Bender,
Second.
second by Robinson at 7:04. All in favor?
Aye.
Any absent? 7:04. Action, determining closed session, we board approved the resolution 2020100829. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of allegiance led by Robinson. Dr. Robinson.
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Hensley is here. Carol Robinson, Jim Bender, and Mario Gutierrez is absent. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second by
Second.
Robinson, all in favor? Aye. Absent. Okay, first on the agenda, we got the first interim report. Okay.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be back, especially with some positive news. So you're going to like the report you're going to get. The information I have to share is all positive, and so you guys are definitely made great strides, and you're going in the right direction. So we can just jump right in. You can go. Okay. So the first interim, we'll start with the revenue, and just to clarify the first interim report, it's a snapshot of where you are on your budget through the first third of the year, so the first 4 months through October 31st. So the actuals you'll look at in your documents are through October 31st. It's an opportunity for the district to make budget revisions based on what's happened the first 4 months of the year. And it is state required reporting. So you approve the report, it goes to the county office, we review it and then offer our opinion on it. You certify whether the district is positive, qualified, or negative. Positive means you can meet all your obligations in the current plus 2 years. Qualified means you may or may not be able to meet your obligations in the current or subsequent years. And negative means you will not be able to meet your obligations in the current or subsequent years. So you guys will be asked to certify the budget positive. You guys are projecting to have the necessary reserves, not only in the first year, but all 3 years of the multi-year projection. So we'll get to that as we progress through the report. But first, we're going to start with revenues. So your first interim budgeted revenue right now is $45.9 million. And the unrestricted portion of that is the LCFF revenue. It's based on the calculator we use. We revised it after 45 days after the state approved their budget. And so that's the revenue we'll look at on the next slide. It also includes restricted funding, which includes the coronavirus relief funds, the CARES Act funds, which your district received over $3.4 million in CARES Act funding. So you'll be allocating much of that this year and some of it in the future years. But that's all one-time funding, unless a stimulus package allocates more funding to California school districts. It's based on your ADA from last year, which is 3306.63. You're held harmless in the current year, and that was enacted due to the coronavirus, the impact of it, and how it could be detrimental to your average daily attendance, and to your enrollment. And then your reserves are going to be projected at 9.5% at the end of the year, which is 3 times the required reserve of 3% for a district your size. So then as we look at the next slide, I have a comparison here of what you approved at July 1 budget versus what we have now. The LCFF revenue has increased by approximately $2.5 million. That was the 45-day revision that we did. Nothing's changed since then. So it's a much better picture than what the governor proposed back in May. The state legislature decided to backfill all the revenues, so make you flat funded, with the hope that we would get stimulus funding from the federal government. Right now, that's still in the works. We're hopeful that it's going to happen with a new president. I know a lot of people in our area are conservative. I would be one of those, but one benefit we will get is probably getting the stimulus money that was in doubt prior to the current president-elect taking office. So then the federal revenue, you'll see a significant increase from 2.1 million to 5.6. That's all CARES Act coronavirus relief funding. Like I said, over 3.4 million. Then there's a little bit of that also under other state revenue. So that's the 200,000 increase you see there. The local revenue is very consistent. And then your total revenue is an increase of LCFF and then mostly the federal funding. Let's see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So then as we look at expenditures, I really, because I don't work for the district, I didn't want to make any drastic changes to your budget unless I saw something that warranted that. So the only material changes I would make were, if I saw something going wrong in your budget, which I did not. So expenditures are up, but they're up because we allocated those coronavirus relief funds. Not only did you receive the revenue, but there was no budget for it, so I had to put that budget in. So you'll see an increase in the revenue and then a concurrent increase in expenditures for that. Minimal changes to salary and benefits. It's tracking as I would expect it to. We'll have a better picture of that at second interim because you'll be paying all your mid-year stipends between now and then. So Robert will be able to, or your future CBO will be able to tighten that up once we see that payroll pass through at the end of December. So second interim is through January 31st. They'll be brought to you in March, at your March board meeting. So salary and benefits make up 80% of your total budget. If you remember the last time I was here a couple of years ago when we were talking about how bad things were, you guys were 90% of your budget was salary and benefits. So the reduction in force that we did made a huge difference in your ability to have a balanced budget and actually have a budget surplus. So it's a much better picture being at 80% than 90%. You're right where you should be, and you're set up for success not only this year, but in the next couple of years. And then restricted includes, as I said, the CRF allocation. That's contributing to the increased expense. And I reviewed your budget through November 30th as well, just to make sure the salary and benefits continue to look good, and they do. So that's the latest information I have. So then here you see the differences, and when you look at salaries and benefits, there are minimal changes. The big changes are in the books and supplies, services and other operating expense, and capital outlay, and that is all, as I said, the coronavirus relief funds being allocated. So. Okay. And so then we talk about your multi-year projection, and this is where we review not only how you stay on the current year, but what we project for the next 2 years after that, so through 22, 23. And that's how we develop and come to the certification of positive. So in the first year, our assumptions are, as I've already said, unrestricted revenue, that's base, supplemental concentration, grant fundings, and grant segments of the LCFF. Your ADA, again, is 3306.63. That's based on last year's P2. Restricted funding includes CRF funding, and the district does project a 9.5% reserve at the end of this year. The subsequent years, again, we use the LCFF calculator to calculate what we expect in both those years. It's based on current conditions, though. So as we're trying to forecast 2 years out, it's very difficult to do that. It's the best tool we have to do it right now, but a lot of things can change, as we've seen in the last year. And so we want to be cautious, but we feel right now with the information we have, the numbers you have before you are the best numbers we could give you. And in both those subsequent years, you're going to see a decreasing budget surplus, but still a budget surplus. So your reserves are going to grow. And that's a good thing for this district, because when we were fiscally insolvent, you depleted all your reserves, not only in the general fund, but in Fund 17, Fund 40. So this puts you in a position where you can set funding aside, rebuild those reserve funds as well if you so choose. It'll be totally up to you guys how you want to allocate that budget surplus. And then the thing we have to also remember is that's a projection right now. So we're projecting you to build your reserves up to 25%. But that's, again, based on where we are right now, doesn't forecast what possibly could change between now and 22, 23. So as we look at the assumptions in those out years, I did your ADA, I reduced it by 80 per year, which reduces your funding about $900,000 in those 2 years. And I did that because your enrollment right now for the current year is down. So I tried to align the ADA with the declined enrollment. If, as we work through the current situation we're in, and enrollment comes back in the future years, that'll be restored funding that you'll see. So the picture could actually get better. We just don't know right now. So I want to be conservative when I estimate your revenue and use a lower ADA amount. And then we allocate 2% for step and column. Because I don't work for the district, I can't use position control to project what your step and column increase will be in the next 2 years. So I did it based on a figure we use a lot in our office. So 2% is about average for step and column. So I applied that. At second interim, if your CBO can work with your personnel staff and get position control up to date, and he can give you an even better projection on what step and column will be for the next 2 years. Health benefits averages about a 4% increase every year with CIS. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 6, but it really averages out probably over the last 10 years as a 4% increase. So I use that. And then we're still seeing employee pension benefit increases, mostly in PERS, but there is some increase in STIRS. So STIRS by 2022-23 is going to go up about 2%. That's the district paid part. And then PERS is going to go from 20% to 26%. So a 6% increase in STIRS benefits that your district will have to pay on behalf of your employees. So those had to be included in the assumptions for the multi-year. And then federal categorical, you'll see it go down in the out years of your MYP because that's one-time funding that we're going to expend in the current year, or at least we have it budgeted to. And so that revenue and expense will go out of the subsequent 2 years. So as I said, the district's projecting reserves of 25.3% right now with the information we have. By the end of 22-23, the only cautionary statement I would make is, again, that's a projection that's 3 years out. There's a lot of things that could happen between now and then. Oh, and I'm sorry I didn't advance there, but that's the information that I just mentioned for you. So then we look at what the actual numbers will be for your reserves projected. We're projecting by the end of the current year, you'll have a 4.4 ending fund balance. By the end of 21-22, 7.8 million, and then 22-23, 10.1, and the percentages that coincide with that. And that is a percentage of your expenditures for the year. So your reserves will equal 9.5% of your expense at the end of this year, should things progress the way we expect them to. And that allows you, those figures allow you to certify positive. Then next, I want to talk about cash and cash flow. So at the end of July, when we finished fiscal year 1920, you guys had 475,000 in your general fund cash account. That was so low because your June state aid apportionment was deferred into July. That's the first deferral that we've seen, and that was due to the effects of COVID-19 on the state economy. So the state couldn't pay our state aid cash on time, so they deferred it to July 15th. But you received it two weeks later. Your cash was restored to a much healthier level at that point. You can see what your cash balance was at the end of October 31st, which is the end of first interim reporting period. It's so high because you received that 3.5 million in CARES Act funding. And so since then, you've expended some of that. You'll be expending more. Your cash balance as of Monday was 6 million. You'll be receiving property tax revenue this month as well. So your cash position is very strong right now. In addition to that, you guys, I think you already know, you repaid all the cash loans that we had made you. The last one was in August, so you repaid us the last $1.3 million. So you've completely put that debt to rest. Everything is good, and again, that allows us to step back with our oversight. Jamie Henderson and I will still be here to support the district, but just not in an official capacity as we were in the past. So. And that's great news for the district. You're totally in charge of how you move forward with your fiscal oversight and how you elect to expend funds. So, let's see. And then lastly, I wanted to show you where your other funds stand. So your adult education fund is projecting an ending fund balance at the end of the year of a little over 200,000, 230,000. Your cafeteria's ending fund balance is strong, so you're projecting to have over 1.1 million there. But the rest of your funds, you'll see, with the exception of the capital facilities funds, have all been depleted. And I mentioned earlier the Special Reserve Fund 17 and Special Reserve for Capital Outlay Fund 40. Those two funds are a place for the board to set aside monies for specific purposes. The Special Reserve Fund 17 can be for any purpose, and Fund 40 for capital outlay projects. So the only time those funds have revenue or ending balance in them is if you've moved money from the general fund. So those are set aside funds that support the general fund. But if you had a big construction project or a big equipment need and you wanted to gradually set aside funds for capital expense, that's what you would use Fund 40 for. And Fund 17 is just a set aside fund for the general fund for any purpose that you may deem. Like one that's very popular is textbook adoption. A lot of districts gradually set funds aside in Fund 17 for textbook adoptions. And then when they get, when they build that fund up to a point where they can allocate it for that purpose, then those funds are expended. So that's just something over the course of the next 3 years. The district, Robert and Barbara will work with you guys to kind of decide how you want to allocate those budget surplus that you were projecting that you'll have, should they come to fruition. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Those funds used to have money set aside in them prior to 2017-18, when that was the beginning of when things went wrong for us. So at some point, it would be our recommendation that you look at rebuilding those funds if you have the ability to. And so that ends my presentation. Any questions from the board?
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
in our budget here, I was looking through it, we have $300,000 that we budgeted for after-school programs. It doesn't look like we'll be using that. Is that something we could transfer to Fund 44?
I would have to review where the revenue comes from for that.
Okay.
So if it's restricted, it's only allowed for a specific purpose. If the funding for that, it comes from the general fund unrestricted, then you could work together and make a decision on reallocating it if that's what you want to do. So I apologize for not knowing the details of your budget, but because I'm not your full-time CBO, there's only certain information I have committed to memory, I guess, at this point. So, but that's a question we could get answered for you. I would have to look at it and see if it's a restricted resource that's paying for that.
Because with the COVID, we don't have any after-school programs going on right now.
Okay.
We may not have them for most of next year too, so.
Leanne, do you know how we're?
I do. So it's, the after-school program is a grant that
Okay.
we get from the state. So we get, $400,000 about. So we don't have an after-school program running right now, but we're still paying the para-educators to work with students via Zoom. So that's where some of that money is already being spent.
For after-school?
Yes, because we are allowed to, instead of laying those para-educators off, the state is allowing us to pay them with those funds.
I'm just thinking, I'm just looking through some, when you mentioned that there's probably gonna be some stuff that we're not spending all the money on this year because of this. Fuel for the buses, there's got to be some savings in this that we can maybe set aside into that fund and start building that up for something later on that we'd like to do.
Yeah, and you know, you may get to the end of the year and when the books are closed in July and August, when the fiscal year ends, and you may see that the budget surplus that we're projecting right now has grown due to the fact that you're not able to do certain things that you would normally do and are normally present in your budget. It's just difficult for me to speak to that because I'm not a full-time employee of the district. And so I'm not just engrossed in the details of your budget. As I was doing this report, I was really going through it and looking for material problems, more so than looking for budget surplus. So I was looking for an overexpended area of the budget, not an underextended. So those are the problems that I wanted to solve before I came to you, just to make sure that, I mean, if we're gonna end up with material change to the budget, I want it to be a surplus, not a negative hit that reduces your fund balance. So that was the work I did. Now, once you have a full-time CBO and the support of our staff for that CBO, we can help you dig into those types of details between now and the end of the year. And we could even do it before your second interim report in some respects, just to offer you a much better picture of what maybe the budget surpluses are versus me looking for budget problems.
Mr. Payne, I have a quick question for you. Maybe you can answer this regarding February's deferral.
Okay.
Last superintendent meeting, it was mentioned to us that the California budget is looking better than projected back in May. Has there been any recent awareness to whether we would have to have a tran for February's deferral, whether that's actually going to happen or not?
Well, right now, we have not been told it's not going to happen. So right now, we're still working on the assumption that it will. And so I provided information for the district to Government Financial Solutions, who's working with our office to do a county-wide tran, so that you guys would be part of that tran. And just so the board knows, a tran is a tax revenue anticipation note It's a short-term loan that is an opportunity for the district to get cash at a very low interest rate. And as I said, it's tax revenue anticipation. So they know you're going to get paid eventually. And they know that the state's already said that will be between July and November of next year, you'll receive the allocations you're not going to receive in the spring. So they set up an avenue for you to borrow cash to get you through the months where deferrals occur, which is February through June. And then you pay it back in the months where you actually receive those funds in July through November, I believe. So we've got you set up to participate in that so that you won't run out of cash. And right now, we don't have any information to change the way the direction we're moving, but if we get that information, we definitely don't want you to overborrow. So we'll work with you guys, or GFS will work with you guys to make sure the size of the grant that you need is allocated with all information included in the decision, so that if we do find out deferrals are going to be reduced, then the amount you borrow will be reduced. And typically the interest rate's about 1%. So you can't really borrow at a much better rate than that these days. It's a minimal cost to fund that to the district, so.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Payne? I just want to publicly thank Mr. Jeff Payne. He has been such a blessing for our school district. Ever since I've been here, I have been able to email him, call him, text him, all hours of the regular workday and even on the weekends. And he has always responded, has been able to provide the information that we needed to continue our work here in the district. And I just want to say to you, Jeff, thank you so much. I
appreciate that.
I don't know what I would have done without you, truly. Thank you.
I just feel, I know 2 years ago, we made some difficult decisions and unpopular decisions, and I remember those board meetings. I'm so happy to be able to actually sit here and give you positive information, and just knowing that those difficult decisions that you did make, if things came out the way we expected them to, you're really now set up for success. It's just managing that going forward. And I think you're going to be set up for success with the team you have in place. So, I really feel good about where you're at, and I'm just glad that I was able to help in any way I could. So, yeah. And so my recommendation would be that you approve the first interim report with a positive certification.
Do I hear a motion to,
I motion that we approve the first interim report.
motion by Robinson, second by
Kingsley.
Kingsley. All in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Okay, thank you. Everybody have a great Christmas and a good New Year. And I'm not sure when you'll see me again, but I know we'll be talking, so.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drive safely.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so, next on the agenda is we have the budget overview for parents and students.
Yes, in your board packet, you received a copy of the budget overview for parents, what we call the BOP. And as you peruse through that, all of the numbers in the beginning pages of that are taken from the first interim budget report. So they all align to the report just provided to you by Mr. Payne. We only were required to, there were 3 prompts in this budget overview for parents, and we only were asked to respond to 2 of the 3 prompts. So our response is there, and the rest are just pretty much graphs explaining to the parents in a visual the money that comes into the district and how the money goes out. So this will be, if board approved, this will be attached to our first interim and will be sent to Kern County Superintendent of Schools tomorrow.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Badger, second by
Thanks, Luke.
Stacy, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Thank you, Ms. Bates.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the RTA report.
I'm hiding back here.
Okay.
First of all, the first interim report is obviously great news. To echo what Mrs. Gaines said, I appreciate the efforts by the county and Mr. Payne, the efforts by the board, and by certainly Mrs. Gaines for righting the ship. It's incredible how this has been improved in such a short time. So an outstanding job by everybody involved. I don't have any other particular report tonight, but I would like to be involved in the discussion on item 8B, which is the intent to return to in-person instruction on January 11th. I don't have anything in particular I want to bring to the board right now, but as that discussion happens during tonight's board agenda, RTA would like to be included in that discussion. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. CSCA report. We got, from Gary Jones, CSCA chapter 587, from the president. Hello, board trustees. I hope you are all well and staying safe. We are happy to report that we have had 2 wonderful meetings with Superintendent Gaines regarding getting our employees to start working from home and reducing the number of staff that is on campus each day. This is very important and necessary to slow down the spread of COVID-19 and help reduce the risk of our employees and their health and their families. As the numbers across the country continue to increase in a scary and steady way, it is the utmost importance to keep all of our employees safe. Administrators, teachers, confidential, and classified. We are a family and need to care for each other, and Mrs. Gaines is providing and she cares, or she's proving and she cares that, and is listening to our concerns. Our members are very grateful that we are still employed, unlike many other Americans. We also know that money is still a concern within our district and that raises are off the table for this year. There is, however, still a great way that Southern Kern can assist to the employees where that struggles the most. Our lowest paid employees typically work 10 months out of the year. CSCA is in partnership with the state of California and has a program that is in its 3rd year. The program requires very little from the district but can give our employees a dollar for dollar bonus in the summer. In short, our employees decide to opt in. They can stash away any dollar amount they wish each month up to 10%. Then in the summer, when they are not working, they are given their money back double. The projection thus far are dollar for dollar and will greatly help our many of the employees without the district needing to worry about budgeting us a raise. This is the perfect opportunity for Southern Kern Unified School District to show our food service employees how much we appreciate the great work they have done since day one of our pandemic. Please review the documentations I have provided tonight and give Superintendent Gaines a nice wink and a nudge and let her know that this is something that you'd like to see happen once we get our CBO approved. All that is required for now is for our district to simply reach out to CSCA and say, yes, we'd like to participate, as long as we have that commitment before January 1st. We can truly help most of our employees immensely. If you'd like more information, please feel free to contact me. I want to sincerely thank Mrs. Yolanda Sanchez and Dr. Carol Robinson for their service of our district during some of our toughest moments. I wish our new board members the best in the future and look forward to working with them. Please continue to stay safe and well. Enjoy your holiday season, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, now CSD report. Associate Superintendent? Ms. Hargis?
Can I ask a question real quick? What, did we search this out?
What is that?
What he gave us, this is, where they get their 10% for the summer, they put their 10%. Did we search it, is this any cost to the district? I mean, it sounds like a good thing. I was reading a little bit about it.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, Mr. Bender, and say, I don't believe there's much, if any, cost to the district, but it's something I need to look into more.
Okay, because we need to sign up January 1st, so.
Yes, and we will,
I mean, make sure we look at it really good.
we will look into that in the next couple days.
Ms. Hargis?
Good evening. The first interim certainly was good news for the district, and lots of hard work from everybody in the district has certainly paid off, and moving forward, doing a great job. It's been a busy time here at the district office, here at all the school sites. Math Academy is still going on. We had hoped to start Rene Academy. We may not be able to start that until a little bit later. On Friday, we have a virtual training for capturing kids' hearts. It's called Excelling Virtually. So we have about 27 staff members that have signed up, and so that'll take place via Zoom on Friday. It'll be a great training, uplifting, give everybody a little bit of, capturing kids' heart hug that, certainly is needed at this time, when everything is just, it's just difficult. So, without that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Hargis. Next on the agenda is Superintendent's report, Ms. Gaines.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. I want to begin this evening by welcoming everyone who is Zooming in with us. We really appreciate everybody taking the time out and joining us in our board meetings. I also want to say this evening that one of our board members, Mr. Mario Gutierrez, is not with us this evening. Mr. Gutierrez had a knee surgery last week, but I also want to take this opportunity to wish him a speedy recovery and also a happy birthday tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mr. Gutierrez's birthday, so we're thinking about you on your birthday, and hopefully you get well soon. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Mrs. Stinich, a 7th and 8th grade science teacher at Trigo Middle School. She applied to KCSOS for a science grant for her classroom and was a recipient of a $1,000 science grant for her classroom. So we're always very excited when we see our teachers who take the opportunity that is sometimes out there and to be able to purchase different supplies for their science program. So thank you, Mrs. Stinich, and congratulations on that. I also received an email from Mr. Wallace, and this is about his cadet corps. So he says, good afternoon. He wants congratulations to Cadet Sergeant Elias Luna for taking first place senior NCO category of state individual major awards. This means Elias is the top high school cadet NCO in the state of California. These competitions are very challenging. Also, Cadet Corporal Caden Shoden served as a time marshal and took the initiative to help calm the cadets who were taking boards. So, Captain Wallace, we want to congratulate you and your cadet corps, and especially Sergeant Elias Luna for taking first place. So that's great news. I love sharing news about our students. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Board communication, Mr. Bender.
I'll pass.
Okay. Dr. Robinson.
Well, I wanted to make a comment about the after-school money that's not being spent. I happen to know that they get very little budget for what they do, so if we have a surplus, it'd be okay to just give them a little budget the next year. So, think about doing that with that money. Since I will not be returning to the board, next year, I want to say it's been a privilege serving, and I am so happy that the state of finances has been turned around. I feel very satisfied with the new leadership in Ms. Gaines, and I wish I could be here to continue to help things the best I can, but I'm looking forward to doing other things. So thank you so much for letting me serve.
Dan, thanks for coming out every week in our every meeting and making this thing go. I know you're the man behind the scenes, but you do a lot for us, so thanks for keeping us legal and making us go. Cadet Corps, you guys keep doing what you're doing. You guys do amazing things. And you never let us down. You always overperform, overachieve, and that's always a good thing, so remember that. CSEA, I want to thank you for working a timely MOU. You guys came through and really made it happen, and made it happen fairly quick. For the community, the staff, the students, we've reached the first hurdle in the holiday season, and looking like it's not going so well. Understand there's another big hurdle with Christmas coming up a lot of time, and New Year's. Please be safe, okay? Practice physical distancing. Try to stick with your own home. Don't introduce outsiders into your home, and try to stay safe. So whenever we do get the chance to come back, even if that's next year, you're able to come back with us. That's all I have.
I kind of ditto with what Dr. Robinson said as well. I won't be here. I elected to not move forward, and I mainly because I wanted to spend time with my grandchildren. It was an honor to serve as well, and I just want to thank everything. I like the position that we're in now with the district. I am ecstatic about Payne's giving us a positive certification, so we're leaving at a good time, and that's really, really good news. I know what we've gone through, so I'm really happy about that. I think that's it. So, comments from the public.
Our first comment from the public is from Ms. Kathy Nelson.
Wait, hold on, read the penny to the comments from the public. It says, members of the public may address the board on any item within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting presentation requests to the secretary. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name, and are reminded that they do not have immunity from legal action if personnel are named. The board may limit each speaker to 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes per topic.
Okay, the first comment from the public is from Kathy Nelson. To the trustees of SKUSD, I realize that you want all of our students back in the classroom, especially the ones who are at greatest need, mainly special ed students. I'm extremely concerned for my fellow special ed teachers who are on the front lines, face to face with their students. At this time, California is shut down. Palmdale and Lancaster have the most COVID-19 cases in LA County, and many of our students' parents work there. Edwards Air Force Base is at Charlie level. Due to security, they can't publicly announce their numbers of COVID cases. We are at Southern Kern, have had our own positive cases. The majority of these have occurred since the special ed students returned on November 2nd. The West Park office staff has gone home to quarantine. The special education office staff had to go home to the virus and had to close for 2 weeks. Thank God no one has died. I have discussed this with my special ed colleagues, and we are requesting that you take this shutdown seriously and let the special ed teachers, parents, and students stay home until the virus numbers drop. At least let us stay safe until after the winter break. I want my fellow SKUSD employees to enjoy a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. Thank you for your time. Catherine Nelson, Special Education. The next one is from Tanya Kessler. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to share my views as a special education teacher who has been teaching about half of my students in person 2 days a week since the board voted to bring students in special education classes back on campus. While I truly enjoy having my students on campus and feel that the education they receive in person is different than the one they have received through social distance learning, I wonder if the district is doing everything they can to support the teachers during the unprecedented time. I haven't spoken up about my concerns regarding teaching during COVID because I don't think anyone really cares or appreciates all that we are doing at this time as special education teachers. Special education teachers are the only ones who are required to teach in person without additional compensation. Academy teachers are being compensated as is outside their teaching hours and is considered extra duty. We are also required to hold extra meetings in addition to our IEPs and keep contact with parents more because our students have legally required services. On top of that, we are spending our in-person days teaching kids to wash hands, monitoring social distancing, cleaning manipulatives, and supplies because the extra supplies we were told we would be provided have not come. And worrying every time one of our students coughs or says their little brother is sick. We, along with our paraeducators, are exposed more than anyone else would be because we are working with students who require the most hands-on instruction. We hold hands, wipe butts and noses, sit right with our students to show them how to do things. Since the school year began, there have been several people on our campuses who have been exposed or have tested positive for COVID. While some classes and offices have been sent home to quarantine, in my opinion, the district is not being diligent about sending people home due to exposure or informing us when there's a possibility we have been exposed. We have been left to worry and rely on gossip for information while we hope that we don't get sick and that we aren't asymptomatic and spreading it to our students, their families, and ours. Those of us who are teaching in person have not received a thank you or even a go stuff it for all we have stepped up to do. I will continue to do what is required of me until I complete this year's contract, but based on how special ed as a whole has been treated this year, I am incredibly disappointed in SKUSD and will be considering if I should continue to work for a district that does not value its special education teachers. Signed, Tanya Kessler.
Public comment from TMS Math Academy teacher Paul Walker. I just wanted to put in good word for Math Academy and that I hope they allow us to continue. Stephanie Starks. I would like the board to vote in favor of waiting to return in-person instructions until the end of third quarter if COVID numbers improve. If they do not improve, then to return after the start of the next school year.
This is from Abraham Sykes to the board. It has come to my attention that there have been and are current cases of COVID-19 that have been associated and confirmed upon the soil and within the edifices of your school in this district. I am certain that under the current tier purple, it is not allowed to open schools where there are active cases. Furthermore, I have looked at the California Department of Education guidelines and nowhere did I see that the order of introducing children back to school meant for certain that special ed students go back first. It is suggested, but not mandated. It still bothers me as it means that our educational system is so flawed that they are willing to risk the teachers' lives and the special ed students as guinea pigs. That was a mistake to start back to a hybrid schedule so soon, and a bigger mistake making it the special ed students because they are going to be the one grouping of students that require the most one-on-one care and attention. My son technically is special ed, but because he is not solely in SPED classes, he is not considered to be such. However, if he were to go back, he would be one of those students who needs more attention and does not always follow the guidelines to the letter, as he does not think about them and acts upon instinct and impulse rather than logical thought patterns. Using the SPED students and their teachers is saying you do not care for your teachers or the students that would most likely be at highest risk of infection or carrier status due to the necessity of the nature of their curriculum. As a school board, you should be ashamed of yourselves. It should be about the quality of life for your students, not the bottom line. Truth be told, it seems that the board as a whole seems to want to pad its pockets and keep the school in the black, not even in the green, nowhere in the yellow, but pandemic and then outbreak. Where are the safety measures? I saw a few X marks the spots on the high school campus. No temperature stations ever. Furthermore, on the Roseman Elementary grounds, the X marks are nearly 6 feet fore and aft, but not port and starboard. They are literally 2 feet apart. Social distancing means 6 feet minimum in all directions. The way it is set up is like you are actually telling me that elementary age children from 5 to 11 are all going to stare straight ahead and not move side to side, nor interact or play with children next to them. Are you expecting children or robots to attend the school? I tell you the truth, my son will not be going back to campus until COVID-19 is over. I and my wife have chosen to remove him from the current school district if the pressure to reintroduce him to the germ share that the school campuses are becomes too much, or we are told it is mandatory. The need for continued good health of my children surpasses the need to have their butts in the seats physically at school, especially since my son is excelling at this distance learning. Why would I send him back to a place where he does okay at and has a moderate to major risk of contracting the disease when he is doing so well and not getting sick now? I know of quite a few people who have had or have the disease now, and a few who are very close to my family have died from this. I pray that the board stop thinking with their wallets and start thinking with their hearts and minds. I ask you to consider that COVID-19 is here to stay for a while longer than we thought, and may yet be the next Spanish flu and last several years. How many must needlessly suffer so your attendance sheets can be full? Mr. Seitz.
Okay, thank you. Next on the consent item is A through I. Do we have any questions?
The only question I have is hiring people. And,
We haven't got to that.
oh, sorry.
Anything
That's
I
not
can
here
do?
yet. Okay.
Let's see, through the minutes and then through the RFPs. Is there a motion?
Let's let Jim do it. Good.
I'm good.
Make a motion that we accept consent items A through I.
Second, Brian. Second. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
An absent. Acknowledgement of the accordance with the code section 35143, the annual board of trustees organization meeting calendar was board approved on December 13, 2019, to be held on December 16, 2020. Ms. Gaines.
This basically is just an acknowledgement that our next board meeting will be the reorg meeting for the swearing in of our newly elected board members. We could not hold this meeting prior to December 11th. So that is the date of the swearing in.
I hear a motion.
Make a motion that the Board of Trustee organizational meeting will be held on December 16th, 2020.
Second by
Second.
Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Revisited the 10/7/20 action of intent to reopen in a blended in-person model of ABDAB on January 11th, 2021. Ms. Gaines.
Yes, a while back, the board, we discussed, we actually postponed the reopening that we had planned for around November 2nd, bringing on our special needs students for 2 days of in-person instruction. Since that time, as you can see, our community is aware, as our teachers, Kern County as well, there has been a spike in the percent of positive testing in Kern County. So at this time, I would like to ask the Board of Trustees to consider postponing the bringing back of our students for in-person instruction. I'd like to possibly revisit this shortly or prior to the end of third quarter to see if our situation has gotten any better. Will at that time Kern County be returned to the red tier? We are back on purple tier at a pretty high rate of positive testing. And so to prevent, the spread of this dreadful disease, this virus, I would like us to return on January 11th with all of our students, including our special needs students, in distance learning the 5 days a week. I'd like the board to consider that at this time. I think that there are some risk factors. We don't have students who have tested positive. We do have a couple, a teacher, at a couple of our sites, or a classified person who has tested positive. So we're starting to see, we had no one for a long time, and then now we do have a couple of people who have tested positive. We have a COVID team who we do the contact tracing, and there are HIPAA laws. So the people that need to be notified are notified. They are immediately sent home. We don't, to protect everyone, we don't broadcast who the person is who has tested positive, but we do the contact tracing, and I believe almost everyone who's been sent home as to quarantine, we've received negative results on most of those people, if not all. That said, I still believe we are at a time that safety is our number one priority here in the district for our students, our staff, our community members, their families. And so at this time, I would like to ask the board to please consider returning January 11th in full distance learning.
Any discussion?
I don't, the letters from the public there, they just get you upset because we could keep putting dates to it, but it doesn't matter anything until the governor says we can do something. I was understood, and it was told to us with letters that the governor said that the special education children had to go back to school. Is that true? So they had to go back to school. Now he's telling us that they do not go back to school, right? Am I right?
Sir, I don't know that came from the governor. Let me just make a couple points for clarity for you and the other board members. First of all, the what you see on the agenda was placed on the agenda by me last week prior to receiving any of the letters that we heard tonight from teachers or our community members. We have been discussing this, the superintendents in Kern County, 47 of us have been discussing this along with our Kern County Superintendent of Schools, that because of this spike in the return to the purple tier and because of the spike in the testing positive percentage, that you're going to see this return to distance learning in probably mostly all districts in Kern, and I'm not sure about LA County. I follow what we do in Kern County. And so this did not come from the governor with regard to our special needs students. This came out today because we went into the red tier a few months ago, and we were able to bring back students onto our campus. We could, because we followed that mandate, we could continue. But in all likelihood, I think that the number of exposures, the number of incidents of positive testing, even in our own district, we're subjecting our teachers and even our students for the possibility, the likelihood that we could see more and more of our staff members possibly get exposed and test positive. And I think this is the concern of Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mary Barlow, the health department. And this is why even today we were advised to at the end of this week that we should pull our special ed students back to distance learning. So as a precaution, as a protection for everybody. We already were thinking of doing this. Mrs. Hargis and I have been talking about this all week, but it just so happened that it was confirmed today by Kern County Superintendent of Schools. I don't believe it necessarily came from the governor. I just wanted to clear that up for you.
Well, I think he meant that the governor had said that we should bring back our special ed students at a blended, at the beginning, not at, now.
Yes, and not only our special ed students, we could have
Right.
progressed into our English learners, our most at-risk
Right.
students.
Right.
We opened with the Math Academy after school we know that there's going to be tremendous learning loss across the nation in math. Math is predicted to be at least 30 to 40% learning loss of our students, greater than even reading. And so we headed that off and thought by opening the Math Academy for our at-risk students and other students who wanted to attend, that we might be able to counter some of that learning loss that we were going to ultimately see. And so our plan was, in better times, that we would also open a reading academy after school. And that's why you see, Mr. Bender, the reading teachers on this agenda to be board approved this evening. But that said, if we can't bring the students on campus, that implies that we will not be able to do the academy at this time. Down the road, by the end of third quarter, I'm not a mind reader. I'm not the good Lord above, so I don't know where we're going to be come the end of March or March 19th. We may be in a better shape, better position. We may be back on red tier, and then again, we may not. It's something we're going to have to revisit probably in early March to see where Kern County is with regard to this virus and the country as a whole.
So you want to take the date till March?
March, I'd like to go to, I believe it's March 19th, the end of third quarter.
I make a motion that we approve it till March in the third quarter. And revisit it. Just revisit.
Do we want to revisit before the third quarter or after?
I'd like to revisit it, maybe sometime in early March, just for the discussion, just for us to get a feel of where we are at that time. If it's looking like something maybe miraculous has happened, then we could revisit it. placing something into effect, not at that moment, but at the beginning of fourth quarter. But I do think we need to revisit, because we need to, should something happen where we could open
Right.
schools, we need to give all of our teachers and our classified people a notice that things are going to be returning to in-person instruction.
Motion by Tom.
So are we closing all in-person instruction at this time?
Tomorrow would be our last day of in-person instruction for our special needs students and our math academy. We would be closing those until through third quarter.
Okay, so do we need a motion on that?
Is there anything we can do with the Math Academy on Zoom or anything like that? I know my granddaughter's in that, and that's all she talks about. I mean, she really enjoys that. And it's, like you said, it's helping them out. Is there anything that we can continue doing that with?
I can say this, Mr. Bender, that is something that I will have Mrs. Hargis, she's hearing you. So maybe there's some possibility that we might be able to do that. I don't know. We will definitely look into that. And if we can do that, then possibly we would look into also maybe starting the reading academy. It's just, the problem is making sure that the kids zoom in. And if the kids don't zoom in, we're wasting
They're wasting time.
the teacher's time, the kids' time, if they don't zoom in, because this is the beauty of the academy was it was in-person instruction with a newly purchased curriculum, a Standards Plus, which is being projected as one of the best math curriculums right now to use, especially for the upcoming state assessment that we're still going to see toward the latter part of this year. So, I mean, we'll have to look at that and weigh out the pros and cons of, is that possible? Is it really going to benefit students?
Madam President, Mr. Qualman asked for a couple minutes to
Yeah, no,
address this.
I was gonna just wait for the students to go ahead, Mr. Conlon.
I appreciate that, and the RTA Executive Board have voted previously to take this action, so we support Mr. Bender's action. I wanted to ask for clarification, just as Mr. Bender did, about the special ed classes that they would attend tomorrow, but then would also go on distance learning. We heard the concerns of the special ed teachers tonight, and those concerns are deep, strong, and real, and so I appreciate that. And Mr. Bender, you're just reading my mind tonight. I also had the same thought. I never thought I was that smart. Oh, goodness gracious. I also thought too about the Math Academy and even the Reading Academy. I know it would be tremendously difficult, and I would rely on the teachers who are involved to say, is there a way we could do this virtually? But if there is, I would definitely encourage the district to pursue that in any way possible. Whatever one-on-one work or support we can give those students outside of the regular school day would be a huge help. So RTA supports the motion. We would love to have the kids back in the class, but we need to do that when we have a clearer picture of when it's safe. So thank you, Mrs. Gaines, for bringing this and putting it on the board agenda, and Mr. Bender for making the motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, so Bender, and second by
I'll second
Robinson, all in favor?
it.
All right, kindergarten building project. Approve resolution 202107 resolution. James.
Okay, this is the actual approving of declaring the resolution for that we are basically informing the California Environmental Quality Act, that CEQA, that we are considered a small project. So we are asking for
for an exemption. And anything that is done which is less than 25% of at the school site qualifies for the exemption. So this is basically that we're just asking for this exemption for the CEQA, the Environmental Act of requirements.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-07.
Second by
I second.
Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Approve notice of exemption submission to the Office of Planning and Research of Worsen Elementary School, Modular kindergarten classroom building.
Yes, this is basically just the filing of the paperwork for the above mentioned resolution that we will register as exempt. We will file as an exempt school district for this 6th classroom project.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the notice of exemption.
Second by,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Approve proposal and services of pre-qualification of prospective bidders from the PQ bids. Listings.
Okay, so in our budget for our 6th classroom project, we have a budgeted amount that where we can hire the services of pre-qualification of prospective bidders, which is called PQ bids. And what they do is they do all the groundwork, all the legwork of making sure that everyone who applies for as a contractor on our projects has already been, they make sure they're already pre-qualified and that they go through all the motions with these people. And the amount is $10,000 for 1 year. It is in the budget for that project, so that we're asking that that this services that we're allowed to hire the PQ bids. We will receive the bids here in the superintendent's office. They will be opened at one time in our boardroom with, if the bidders want to show up, they can. But we ask that you approve using the PQ bids for this service.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve proposal of services from PQ bids.
So they just check the paperwork, make sure they're licensed and they're bonded and insured and all that
Yes.
before they can place the bid.
And this is their work, Mr. Bender, so they know who are the people that are truly highly qualified to bid, to make a bid on that. And so they would not bring someone forward to us who do not meet all the speculations and all the requirements.
I second it.
Okay, second by Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Approve school qualification questionnaire for Worsen Elementary School. Ms. Gaines.
This is just a pre-qualification process to get state matching funds. So we just need to complete this questionnaire and financial statement and submit it to the DIR for the Department of Industrial Relations.
Do I hear a motion?
A motion that we approve the pre-qualification questionnaire for Worsen Elementary.
Second by
Second.
Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Approve the agreement with the American Modular System Incorporated. Ms. Gaines.
And this is the final contract with AMS, who is actually the manufacturer of the 6 classrooms, the 3 buildings, H, I, and J, which 2 classrooms in each building. And the total cost is $2,304,130, and this is the final contract. We are currently in DSA already with our, we've been there since, I think, November 10th.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agreement with American Modular Systems for the purchase of the kindergarten classrooms for our ES.
Second.
Second by Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Approve the commence formal bidding for the site utility work for the 3 AMS modular kindergarten building. Ms. Gaines?
Yes, we want to approve to commence the formal bidding. We will not actually do the formal bidding until there's certain processes that have to be in place. For example, on December 15th, we have to post an ad in the Valley Press. And I believe the following week or two, another ad. So we actually will not begin receiving bids until we've gotten the final approval from DSA, which they've sort of gotten a little bit of feedback already. There's only a couple little things so far that they may have to make a little bit of a alteration or something, or they're questioning a couple of things, but we would not begin actually receiving the bids until January 26th of 2021. This just allows us to prepare and start with the advertisement, getting the PQ bids, etc. All of these things in place to begin the process.
My motion that we approve the commencing of formal bidding for the site utility work.
Second by,
Thanks.
all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Okay, now we have the approval and second reading, review and reading of the board policies listed. Ms. Gaines?
Yes, these are the board policies that you had at the last board meeting. I'm just bringing them back for your second reading and also for your board approval this evening.
Is there a motion?
We don't approve it yet, right? We just,
Yeah, no, we're doing
Just a second.
we're in
reading.
second. I make
It's an
motion,
action item.
just action.
Make a motion that we approve the second review, approve the reading.
A second.
Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Personnel items. I have a correction on Reina Luna and Oscar Valencia. The start dates, they need to be crossed out and read as to be determined for both. As a correction.
That would take care of my question about it.
The campus supervisor.
Yeah, that's fine. To be determined.
The currently subs.
And I'm not 100% sure if they are currently subs. Mr. Tanksley, I don't want to speak if they are or not.
So do I hear a motion to approve the item change?
I make a motion, we approve it.
We're carrying on with the Reed Academy hirings, and we're just going to be paid until it's finished.
So how the reading accounting works, if you could go ahead and approve them, we'll, try to figure out if there's a way really to do that. It's a 2-hour program. I think my concern is, an additional 2 hours. But we'll certainly, talk with the administrators and the teachers and see what they think about that. But how it works is they're paid per hour, so it's not a stipend per se that, goes over a few months. It's, if we get it going, they are paid 2 hours of prep a week and then $45 for each hour. If for some reason we don't get it going, then they just won't receive that.
So they'll put in a golden rod or whatever.
Right.
We don't do it. It's just getting ready, should we ever be able to do it.
So Bender, you need a motion?
Robert here too?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, we're
which
good.
is, where is that?
I'm good, Robert.
He did wear a power tie.
Yeah, he did wear a fire tie, nice blue shirt, nice suit. So what do you think? You ready for the challenge?
Looking forward to it. Pending your approval, of course.
Well, welcome back, Robert.
Thank you.
So my approval has to just basically come off of our superintendent recommendation, because I really don't know much about your job you're doing and much about you, so, but she recommends you, so I approve it. And I'm looking forward to working with you and seeing you around a lot.
Well, thank you.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Treasurer, second by
Second.
Wilson, all in favor?
Aye.
And abstain.
So you're hired.
Thank you, Carol.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second by
Second.
Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One absent. 18 more.